Hello, fellow human! Welcome back to another Dank Doggo r/ProRevenge. So, our revenge of the day is from you/Drum Bubba, with the title of Never Mess with a Rancher and a Neighbor. My father had the ultimate revenge when I was a kid. I grew up on a horse ranch in Colorado. We had a long piece of property, about 80 acres, and we raised Missouri fox trotters. We had lived there for almost 20 years when some folks bought a strip of property way at the back of our land. It was a strange plot of land as it was very narrow and was sandwiched between our back fence and a busy county road. We were surprised anyone would buy it actually, as it forced the house to be pretty close to the said road. Well, we never meet these new neighbors until one day my dad gets a notice from a lawyer telling us that after having surveyed the property lines, our back fence encroaches on their property between 3 to 6 inches, depending on the spot along the fence line. These folks had never met us, never introduced themselves. Our first introduction was this legal demand. My father was a salt of earth kind of man, very kind but also very strong-willed. He called these folks, arranged a meetup, and tried to talk some sense to them. First, did the 3 to 6 inches really matter that much? And why that they not come to us to talk it through? He even offered a number of different compromises. These folks were hostile from the get-go. They demanded he move the fence immediately or they would sue. Apparently, the law stated they had to put their house so far away from our fence line, and they wanted to push it as far back from the road as they could when they built it, so they wanted that 6 inches very badly. I still remember when my dad got home from the meeting. He hung his hat up and shook his head when he told my mom in his slow way, "Well, looks like we got a kind of folks for neighbors you don't ever want to have for neighbors." They sued and won, and we were forced to move the fence in 2 weeks. I say we because I was the free slave labor, as all farm kids are in this kind of thing. All the fencing material and the time were big costs for my family, but we got the work done in early spring. Here's when the fun comes in. So the neighbor broke ground and built all through the end of winter and into spring. The very next weekend after they had moved into their house, Dad roasted me out of bed and we took a big truck into the lumber yard. I was extremely puzzled as we loaded up a bunch of fencing material and building supplies. We didn't have any big projects going on that I knew about, and I keep asking him what was it for. But he told me just wait and see, with a devilish smile on his face. We built a pen and a small enclosure very near our back property line, directly behind the neighbor's new shiny house. The next day, once our farm friends delivered a half dozen of pigs to their new home, Dan insisted on feeding those hogs table scraps and all the things that would go in the composter, as well as good balanced hog feed to keep them healthy. Now, you may not know this, but the smell of pig excrement is directly related to what they eat and their pen. Table scraps make them smell bad. I mean, bad. I had to drive 4-wheelers back there every day to take care of them, and within a month halfway there, my eyes would start watering. It smelled so bad. When we mucked it out of the pen with a bobcat, we also made a pile right next to the pen. I can't imagine how bad the smell was living in that house. The neighbors, of course, freaked out, and again, without even trying to talk to us, went the legal route. They lost. The area was zoned agricultural, and my dad had done his homework to make sure he was breaking no laws or regulations. The pigs were far enough from us and other neighbors that it didn't bother anyone but the people he wanted it to bother. Come fall, when winters move in, we sold the pigs to the slaughter, and Dad stacked up a bunch of building supplies next to the pen and let our neighbors know we would be expanding the profitable operation in the spring when they came out to scream at him. He smiled the whole time, speaking in his slow, steady way. The new neighbors sold their new house in January when the ground was frozen. The new owners would not smell the pen. So as soon as the old neighbor were gone, we tore down the enclosure, spread the nasty stuff on hayfield, and the new neighbors never had any bad smell come spring. They were also great neighbors and still lifelong friends. Never mess with a rancher. Since I've gotten this question a bunch of times, this is what my dad proposed to the neighbor after getting a letter to move the fence, but before we end up in a court. He really did want to try to cultivate good relationship with a new neighbor, even though they start on such lousy foot. He offered to sell them 5 acres of land at the back of the property at a super affordable price so they could have a better plot and get well back from the road. Our back fence line was almost 5 acres long, so it would have shaved an acre-long line off us all, and that was wooded land, and that was not good pasture land anyway. They were not interested. They had plenty of fun too, by the way, as they were sitting on a multi-million-dollar payout from selling their home in CA, which we knew as they brought it up multiple times in the discussion statements that they had all the money they needed to take us to court if we didn't comply immediately. My dad asked if he could move the fence over time then, rather than being hit for the cost all at once. Ranchers are not made of money. We could move section right behind the proposed building site immediately to help with the planning, etc. first. They were not willing to do that. It had all to be moved immediately. Lastly, my dad was friends with 2 guys that did inspections for the country for this kind of stuff, who had built many additions and changed on the ranch over time as well. They were all in the volunteer fire department together as well. He offered to get all of them together and see what options they had for dealing with the offset issue. The neighbor refused, again demanding the fence to be moved immediately. If you see a theme here, so did my dad. There's no pleasing some people, so my dad let him take us to court. I later found out that dad was using time to save up some money since he figured he would have to move the fence and that was expensive. And he hoped that the maybe neighbor would not push it that far and come to work with him rather than go to all that cost. I know my dad reached out a couple more times to the neighbor before things went to court too. I'm totally with OP on this one. The neighbors in the story are such typical examples of entitled people. They're supposedly be millionaire and they use money as some sort of tool to threaten people. And ranchers are not that rich, you know? Saying crap like, if you don't comply, I have money to sue and go to court. All they had to do is just to calm freaking down, have a sneaker, and just meet OP's family to discuss about the issue. Legal routes should only be used as last resort when the other party refuses to comply. As for OP's dad, he is a genius. He brilliantly executed a ProRevenge using perfectly legal way and had done his homework carefully so that even people with money still lost in court. Others MVPs are definitely the pigs. They can be cute and smart, but they sure smell terrible. Also today I learned that you will smell exactly what you eat. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching. Dank Doggo appreciates your time. If you enjoy our content and want to see more of us, stay tuned and subscribe. Don't forget to smash that like button or Doggo will cry. Also, you can always tell us your Doggo comments, your experiences in the comment section. I'll catch up with you guys later in the next video.